Hello to all you dear riders. I hope you're doing well. I truly hope that you have had a very wonderful sporting week. If you're currently training a horse and aren't happy with the results, I urge you to please not simply punish them. And don't stop the training process. There are three very serious and fundamental questions that professional trainers and riders must be able to answer. When you encounter a problem with your horse, you need to carefully identify exactly what the underlying issue is. 1. Is my horse capable of performing this movement and exercise? 2. Has my horse correctly understood exactly what I mean? And finally, you must determine if the horse simply doesn't have any desire to perform a particular type of exercise and is fighting you. Identifying these three questions. This comprehensive approach allows you to find various effective solutions and then carefully choose the very best one for your horse's unique personality type, so that in a relatively short period of time, you can provide the highest quality training and thorough education for your horse. I know it seems deceptively simple, but these same three questions can fundamentally change the training path of an exceptionally talented horse. A professional trainer is someone who can distinguish between these three situations and provide the appropriate solution. Now let's examine it more closely together. 1. The horse cannot perform an exercise, whether either physically or mentally. Sometimes the horse really isn't quite ready to execute a specific movement. Perhaps its muscles don't have enough strength yet, or it's suffering from hidden physical pain, or a lack of physical balance. A thorough body check, checking the saddle and whether it is properly positioned on the horse's body or not, as well as checking the arena footing and the type of ground you're working on, and also your horse's psychological and mental state can actually be incredibly essential in these situations. When considering the reasons why your horse cannot perform an exercise, the solutions we suggest for you today are as follows. First, start again with light and progressive exercises. You should gradually increase the training pressure. Please, when increasing the overall intensity and repetition of exercises, do not rush. If your horse is doing this exercise correctly, don't quickly, gradually make that exercise increasingly more challenging. Second, work on the supporting muscles like the abdominal muscles, the back muscles, and also the horse's pelvic muscles. Take alternating aerobic and anaerobic exercises very seriously and be sure to include them in your program because it increases the endurance of your horse's body. And sometimes the horse's resistance is just because of unsuitable ground. Don't underestimate this. Sometimes horses feel uncomfortable pain on certain harder types of ground that we are much less likely to notice ourselves. The second question is that the horse didn't understand the rider's intention at all. Many times the problem isn't with the horse, it's with the rider themselves. The rider's aids are sometimes vague, disorganized, or even contradictory. When your reining hand says wait, but your lower legs tell the horse to keep moving forward, the horse gets understandably confused. Whenever the horse doesn't understand what you mean, it's not the horse's fault. It is your own responsibility for not being able to communicate your intended meaning correctly to the horse with riding aids. The reason why, most of the time, novice and inexperienced riders end up confusing the minds of professional horses is precisely because of this. Because they give contradictory commands to the horse simultaneously. That is, in one single moment, they give commands with their hands and legs that are different from each other. The rider's hand says one thing to the horse, their legs say another, their seat says something else, and a professional horse sometimes gets confused and can't distinguish correctly. And because of that, it gets very upset and starts doing things that people usually say don't give very professional and good horses to these beginner riders. And the reason is simply because these riders don't have proper and complete control over their body parts and their hands, and they haven't yet realized that each of their body movements conveys a message to the horse's mind, and the smallest movement of the rider's body can be influential in the movement and in the horse's mind. And also, sometimes the horse hasn't reached a correct and deep understanding in the previous stages and previous training, yet at that same moment, the rider wants that horse to perform a more complex and difficult exercise, which the horse is not yet ready to be able to fully concentrate and focus on, and be able to successfully jump and properly execute that specific exercise or that particular obstacle correctly. In these situations, we must take a step back. We should rebuild basic exercises with repetition and persistence. Second, try to give only one signal at a time to the horse's mind, not several at once. The horse gets confused about what you want from it, because all of riding is based on body language. It's based on body language. If you constantly try to send the signal with your body, it gets confused and can't focus. Take the half halt very seriously, because the half halt is the language of conversation between you and your horse. Transition exercises, whether forward transitions within a gait, or downward transitions, as well as changes of direction and control over your body weight, all of these help your horse to better and more easily understand your intent at that moment. Try to ride with the minimum of riding aids. Use the minimum of aids. That is, give aids that are simple, clear, and precise. Try to be quiet and communicate with the horse's body only with your leg. And wait. For horses that don't understand your intent, you must direct. That is, consistently direct your training in a specific direction where the horse begins to focus much more on your physical body and the subtle aids and signals you are giving it. If the horse happens to make a mistake, don't apply pressure, be patient and perform the exercise again a bit. Work more simply and patiently until the horse completely trusts you and can focus in the right state of mind on what you actually want and require from it. And remember this, if the horse doesn't understand, the problem is with the rider's command, not the horse. Sometimes you've seen this scene where a rider is doing an exercise and hasn't been successful in it. And at that moment, that rider's coach or a better rider gets on that horse and performs that exercise and that movement with much higher quality and more easily with that horse. This is all because of the clarity and distinctness of the aids of that coach who has better experience and has more mastery over their body to better convey their intent to the horse. Novice riders are somehow unbalanced and uncoordinated between aids, and this causes confusion in the horse's mind. To correct this situation, if you have such problems, definitely train with a coach, film your practice sessions, and after riding, share it with an experienced person, with your coach, or with a better rider. Watch it together, analyze it, analyze the horse's movements, and be able to get help from each other so that you can understand that horse much more easily and better and plan the next training program for its development. If you have a highly professional horse, the shouldering exercise, make sure you add this to your daily routines, as it significantly increases the horse's understanding of the leg, whip, and that seat of yours. Do not forget it. Whenever a horse does not execute a specific training exercise, please do not look for resistance and a fight. The very first thing you should stop and ask yourself is this: was my message to the horse clear? Was I able to effectively convey my intended meaning to the horse using my body language or not? And as for the third case, where the horse isn't willing to cooperate at all. Now, whether it's specific behavioral or emotional resistance, here, there's no physical pain involved, and furthermore, there is misunderstanding. Here, the horse doesn't want to cooperate. The reason could be mistrust, it could be psychological tension or a negative experience in the past, and that horse's memories could also cause this. A common mistake riders make is in diagnosing this case, which this unfortunately leads to significantly more pressure, punishment, and constant fighting with the horse. A very famous and great writer used to say that you can punish the horse, but only on the condition that it is after 1,000,000 times that you've encouraged them. The horse, you are allowed to punish the horse once. He basically wants to tell you that you don't have permission to administer punishment. All effective horse training revolves around encouragement and positive conditioning. Well, now, what can we do? Reduce the training pressure, make the movements simpler. Use positive conditioning. If you don't know what positive conditioning is, please search for the conditioning video on our channel. And you can find more detailed information about horse conditioning and training there. For the smallest cooperation, be sure to give them a small reward. Perform varied and interesting exercises, fun exercises. Look at the horse's history. Has it had a negative experience? Who was its previous rider? What was the latest result it achieved in competitions? What's the reason? So it was transferred to your club and you took on the responsibility of training this horse. And tell me, is this exercise you've set up for it today a bit scary for the animal, or is it something it's already used to? Does it have good memories of these types of exercises? All of this helps you better decide for the horse's mind. You should try to enter the horse's mind. Definitely think about it. You will definitely find the right solution for your specific horse with all these methods we've discussed today. Furthermore, another very important issue that should be considered alongside these is the horse behavior categories. The thing is, horse behavior isn't always the same. We must learn to distinguish between them. We have excellent behaviors, good behaviors, and forbidden or undesirable behaviors. There are three types. Okay, let's move on to excellent behaviors. The definition of excellent behavior is when certain horse behaviors and movements show high understanding, active cooperation, and physical and mental readiness. It means the horse makes precise movements in response to the rider's aids, meaning for every 5 requests from the rider, the horse performs correctly about 4 times. This indicates that the rider, they ought to focus on maintaining the horse's quality level now. There is no real need for any additional pressure. They just need to keep the horse mentally ready, not tire the horse's mind, and give the horse's muscles time to develop enough so they can perform exercises with more repetitions in the future. I mean, regular exercises without extra pressure. You really shouldn't cause physical fatigue and lower the motivation of your horses with excessive training routines. You see, keeping them fresh is key. Horses may exhibit a certain type of behavior at any stage of training. Their behavior might be excellent, quite good, or they might show a behavior that you should never allow to continue. Recognizing this is extremely important, as is knowing what your horse's weakness and strength are in each of these exercises. If it has a strength, don't tire the horse's mind mentally anymore and don't put excessive pressure on it. If a horse in a movement or in an exercise shows excellent behavior, there's no need for excessive pressure anymore. You just need to give it time for its muscles to grow. For example, suppose you have a 7-year-old horse with a very good athletic bloodline. You've set up gymnastics with several cavalettes, a vertical at 5 strides, and an oxer. The horse performs excellently. What does that mean? At the first request, the horse enters its path with a specific rhythm, meaning it enters the training line. In the distances, it doesn't need strong aid from the rider and adjusts its strides correctly on its own. After the second jump, without tension or backing off, It continues moving in a balanced state. Out of every 5 repetitions of this exercise, it performs the exercise 4 times perfectly accurately and with high quality. A professional coach's analysis in this situation is that the horse is correctly understanding the exercise, is gaining a lot of confidence, and is also physically and mentally following along with the exercise. So here, the time for using excessive pressure is no more. This is the time to maintain quality and effectively building muscle while avoiding mental fatigue. Always keep this in mind. The rider must immediately take action, praise the talented horse after a successful jump, and make effective use of positive reinforcement. Look, we shouldn't let the temptation of one more time completely destroy the entire training session or mentally ruin your horse. This one more time completely and utterly disrupts the horse's mind muscle system and everything else. The absolute best and most ideal moment to stop the training is right there, exactly when the horse is at the very peak of its confidence and self-assurance. That is precisely when you should decide that you have done enough for now and stop the exercise, allowing the horse to fully relax and absorb the lesson. After you leave the competition arena and that training session with a good memory. Another point is that the day after a good session, instead of repeating the same exercise, take the horse on simpler paths or much calmer exercises like you can do just simple cavaletti, hacking out, or even walking outside the club or anything else that counts as a proper recovery for the horse's body so that the horse's muscles, their mind, and their overall spirit can rest. Your horse's neuromuscular coordination and physical balance can fully recover, and it can continue to accompany you with a high level of quality in all of your future training sessions. In short, if the horse is doing the right thing but is still quite young and developing, higher pressure means a greater chance of physical and mental breakdown. In these tough conditions, the coach's role is like a quality engineer, not a bully. Maintain the quality of behavior. Ensure you don't burn out the horse's inner motivation and let its muscles have the valuable opportunity to grow. Listen to these sentences once more. It can give you an entirely fresh perspective. For example, the first time it just pauses before entering its line. The second time, the horse comes to a full stop and holds its head high. And the third time, it actually then turns and goes back, putting quite a bit of pressure on the bit. The ears, the sharp eyes, the strong muscles, all signs are valuable. When they say an experienced person, a coach, when an older coach, by looking at a horse, though, gives you a suggestion, gives you a theory, or gives you some valuable advice, these bad behaviors must be stopped promptly before they become deeply ingrained in the horse's character, in the horse's mind. Sometimes repeating them just once causes that behavior to stick in